welcome everyone, and we apologize for the delay. We're having some technical gremlins out there, so we'll try to blunder through here. We have Councillor Rudenberg on Zoom, or partially on Zoom. So I'd like to call the meeting to order, and we recognize that we meet on the traditional territory of the LHTAKO DENE Nation. I'd like to get approval of the agenda as amended. We have a late attachment under I2 committee reports, September 14, 2023, Policy and Bylaw Committee Chair Summary, and that will be presented by Councillor Runge, and that has been circulated late with your agenda package. And also we have item L1 from the council information package. Number 1 will be brought forward for discussion regarding the 49th annual memorial powwow on October 7 and 8. So with those changes, may I have a motion to adopt the agenda? Councillor Rudenberg, Rudenberg's on the line. Councillor Rudenberg, I'm going to give you that one. Councillor McKelvey, you're going to second it. Is there any discussion? Anybody opposed? We're carried. So now we are going to go to a motion to adopt the meeting, or adopt the minutes of the regular meeting held September 5. Mover, Councillor Goulet, seconded Councillor Vic. Any discussion? Anyone opposed? That is carried. We have no presentations, we have no delegations, we have no items arising from previous special closed meetings, we have no unfinished business, but we do have 2 committee reports, and the first one is from the September 7, 2023 Financial Sustainability and Audit Committee, and I will now go to the chair of that committee, Councillor Vic, to report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So yeah, this committee meeting happened almost a few weeks ago now. We actually have a meeting tomorrow, so this is a little stale, but still relevant, as Director Bolton will be bringing forward elements of this report later on in the agenda. First, we discussed permissive tax exemptions for the nonprofit organizations in the community, and I can largely say it's largely unchanged. There is a couple changes regarding the Salvation Army, as they've essentially wound down their activities in the community, but really not a lot of change, but Director Bolton will elaborate further in her report. Then we discussed the tax sale, which has already occurred, and Director Bolton, what did the final number end up being?
So yesterday we ended up tax selling 4 properties. One, the city was actually deemed the purchaser at 1927 Dragon Hill Road, the former vet.
So at the time of drafting this report, we were at 35, and then we pared it down to 4. So that's pretty good. Then we discussed the meeting schedule for 2023-2024. Recommendation is coming. Then we discussed some of our budget planning, and we're turning to the budget survey very soon. We talked about the timing and the need for some input on potential questions for the survey. So any input from colleagues around the table here would be much appreciated, so we can build that. That's about it. So we'll move to the recommendations. One of them is just for information. It's coming later on regarding permissive tax exemptions, but the recommendation for this schedule, I will move to recommend to council the meeting schedule for the Finance Committee for 2023-2024. I'll move that.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Vic. Seconder, Councillor McKelvey. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. And again, the recommendation regarding the permissive tax exemption will come up a little bit later in the meeting. Now, I'm going to go to Councillor Runge to report on the September 14th, 2023 Policy and Bylaw Committee, and that has been circulated as a late attachment.
Thank you very much. So, as it's a late attachment, I've given you a few extra pages so that you have, we can go through it nice and slow and make this meeting a little bit longer. Anyway, so we are looking at, there's correspondence to the council on Council IWC 7 policy that will be coming back to the Policy and Bylaw Committee with updates to Section 2, 2, and 3. And these sections are listed below, so, we would like to add the addition of subject to Section 5 to the beginning of the section, and Section 5 states that all correspondence addressed to the council is reviewed by the mayor and the corporate officer and is processed as follows. And then we would add the Section 2.2 to it, where we would add for information only to the end of the section. So the regular council agenda is part of council information package. So revised would read, council information package. This type of correspondence does not contain a direct ask of council, but does contain community information, including requests for proclamations from local entities, and may be placed on the regular council agenda as part of the council information package. And we're going to add for information only. And Section 3 suggests edits on the discussion regarding the correspondence that was previously directed to the executive committee, because we kind of took the executive committee away. So if we need something that has to go to the executive committee, where does it go now? So that is going to come back for discussion to us. Then there was also, we also talked about recording of council meeting votes, and Deputy Corporate Administrator Hartley updated the Policy and Bylaw Committee about upcoming revisions to Council Procedure Bylaw number 1920 of 223. And the action is the staff bring suggested revisions to Council Procedure Bylaw 1920-223 back to the PAPCOM committee with updates, including mandatory housekeeping changes and outdated references, the addition of alternative posting notices, and the removal of item 18.8 regarding recording of names in opposition votes, which caused a few issues when we had in the past. And with regards to the alternative posting notices, I think that's a wonderful idea. We currently just post a lot of our notices, or we've historically posted it in the paper, and to have different ways of posting it, I think, is a really positive step forward in making sure that we're open and to the community with regards to things that we're doing. Then we spent a fair amount of time on the smoking regulation bylaw, which at the last meeting, you might recall, was sent back to us, and my apologies for that. So smoking bylaw number 1767 of 2015. We discussed the regulation that was sent back. We reviewed suggested revisions for time with regards to including business restrictions and the discussion of how Northern Health fits into the guidelines. We were unable to come up with a consensus at that committee meeting, and we felt it would be best to bring it back for a full council visit, discussion, review, and whether we want to even move ahead with this bylaw to a council meeting in the future. So the action, of course, is to direct staff to bring the smoking regulation bylaw to council for discussion and review. And then as we move forward, we also talked about street, park, and facility naming policy. PAPCOM discussed the process and procedures for when a name request is submitted. We looked at the bylaw, and we agreed staff will send street, park, and facility naming CCR 9 policy directly to those requesting names to be put onto the registrar, so they can justify why a name would be put onto the naming list for consideration. We also agreed that it was really important that we extend this request to external groups and Indigenous communities so that they have a chance to put their names on the list for future, so that if a name street were to be named in the future, those names would already be there. Then we move on to the themed sidewalks. A little side note, those 3 new sidewalks look really nice. But the policy bylaw reviewed the potential of new themed crosswalk policy, and we looked at, we heard from other community, and the policy and bylaw committee directed staff to draft a themed crosswalk policy to outline the approval process, design work development, and the responsibilities for the cost, maintenance, and repair of the themed crosswalk in the future, so that it doesn't become, so if we're going to have them, that we find a way that we're not going to just load the taxpayer with extra costs. And of course, we came up with a 2024 annual meeting schedule, and it was moved, which will, and that's going to be our recommendation, that we approve the annual meeting schedule that I believe is not attached. So I guess it will come back at a future time, I guess, the agenda. Or unless it's in the package that I missed it. Thank you. That's it. Any questions?
So just for clarity then, the proposed meeting schedule for 2024 for PABCOM is not attached? Yeah, we have it, don't we? So
I stand corrected. You know what?
Yeah,
when
so
I was
we
reading
can't-
the minute,
if you could move that, I'd look for a
you know what?
seconder.
Yes, we will. So you know what? I need someone to move it. That we have our meeting agenda for 2023 and 24. My apologies. It's on page 12, and I just read that as the Financial Sustainability Audit Committee one, but it's ours.
okay, so Councillor Runge is moving that, and Councillor Goulet is seconding it. Do we have any discussion? No discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Thank you.
Okay, so that concludes policy and bylaw, and now we're going to move to council reports, and we only have one, and that goes to me. This is the highlights from the Cariboo Regional District Board meetings, and there was actually two of them, a committee of the whole meeting on September 7 and a board meeting on September 8. And we were down at Big Lake on the Interlakes Highway connector between 100 Mile and Little Fort. Beautiful part of the world. First of all, Director Al Richmond was recognized for his 30 years of service on the Cariboo Regional Board. There was this discussion on the growing community funds assigned to regional infrastructure projects, and the board has assigned most of that, but there is $312,500 remaining unallocated, which the directors will discuss at a future meeting, and they will particularly be looking at providing some funding to facilitate live stream video meetings. And I just bring that forward because that's something that is dear to my heart, and hopefully one day we will be able to follow suit with many other municipalities and regional districts that do provide live streaming. But that's a discussion for another day. 5 more years for Quesnel Healthcare Recruitment Program. The board has approved a 5-year extension to the City of Quesnel's contract for the North Cariboo Healthcare Worker Recruitment and Retention Program. And the reason, well, a good reason why I'm bringing this one up is because this has served as a model for supporting healthcare worker landing and retention efforts in rural communities, and was expanded in 2021 to include the Central and South Cariboo region. So I'm kind of bragging on this one a little bit because we've done a very good job on this, to the point that it's being duplicated by others. That basically concludes my report, other than to say that Regional District is taking up a lot of my time. We have another meeting here on September the 28th. We have the Cariboo Regional District and the Cariboo Chilcotin Regional Hospital Board meetings coming up on Thursday. So that concludes my report. Is there any questions? Okay, I don't need a motion for that. We can move on. Okay. So now we go to city staff reports. Admin report 96/23, 2024, annual council meeting schedule. Deputy Corporate Administrator Hartley to report.
The purpose of this report is for council to approve the 2024 annual regular council meeting schedule. as per Section 124 of the Community Charter and Section 6 of the Council Procedure Bylaw 1920 of 2022. The recommendation is that Council approves the 2024 annual regular Council meeting schedule as attached to the September 26, 2023 Council meeting agenda.
Thank you. You'll see that the schedule is on page 17 of 38, so if I could have a mover. Councillor Runge, you're moving it?
Sure.
Okay, Councillor Vic, you're seconding. Any discussion? Councillor Runge.
Yes, thank you. And it's with regards to the starting time of these meetings. We were originally looking at a 5:30 starting time, and we were going to revisit it in November, which would then come after, if we decided to go back to a 6 o'clock meeting time, would then have to have this adjusted. So I don't know when that discussion starts with regards to the time of this meeting. Because we were going to revisit it. It wasn't going to be I thought we were going to try it for X number of months and then revisit and see if it worked.
Well, I think that we can revisit it at any point. And
then they just readjust the times on the notice? If it were to change?
To revisit, you'll have to do another Council Procedure Bylaw amendment. But yes, you can revisit it at any time.
And I hope we don't need that, but if there is a request to go back to 6 o'clock or some other ungodly hour, then we will deal with that at that time.
All right, so when we put this in, we did say that we were going to revisit it, I believe it was in November. So will that happen automatically, or do I have to request and see if there's actually any interest to actually revisit and talk about that?
I don't recall a specific date. I'd probably be waiting for instruction.
Yeah, I would suggest that if anybody wishes to revisit that they bring that up at that time. But it wouldn't be automatic, in my view.
All right, I'll follow up with it afterwards. Thank you.
Okay, so the next item is.
We have to vote. Excuse me.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, we need a vote on the. Do we have a mover and a seconder for the? Okay, so we just need the vote. All in favor? Carried. Okay, so the next one is Admin Report 95/23, City of Quesnel Permissive Tax Exemption Bylaw Number 1951 of 2023, first and second readings. Director Bolton to report.
Thank you. So the purpose of this report is to seek approval for the first two readings of the City of Quesnel 2024 to 2027 Permissive Tax Exemption Bylaw Number 1951 of 2023. So tax exemptions are for the nonprofits are for 4 years, so that they can be reviewed once every time by every council. So this is the review for this term of council. The permissive exemption bylaw must be adopted before October 31st, which is what we're working on. We did send out letters to all the groups that had previously received an exemption, asking them to reapply, and we also ran advertisements in the paper if there were any new nonprofits that wanted to apply. So the FSAC committee reviewed all the applications at their September 7th meeting and recommended the exemptions which are included in the bylaw. And after we pass these first two readings, a notice will be put in the paper regarding the proposed exemptions, and then the bylaw will come back for future readings. There weren't a lot of changes in the bylaw. We did receive an application from Etch-and-Heelan Society, which was formerly North Cariboo Aboriginal Society, so they're in for the same exemption that North Cariboo used to receive. As the Councillor Vic mentioned, there's no longer an exemption for the Salvation Army. And then there were just a couple other little minor amendments. Now, before we adopt the bylaw, I have to note that I did make one error on the bylaw. For folio, so if you look at Schedule A for folio 332-262, the Royal Canadian Legion branch, it says exempted 90%. It should have had a note that that's improvements only. We've never exempted the land in the past because we provide so much parking for that location. So I will just correct that and add that, but I just want to note it now so it's in the bylaw. So the recommendation is that Council proceed with the first two readings of the City of Quesnel 2024-2027 Permissive Tax Exemption Bylaw No. 1951 of 2023.
Thank you, Director Bolton. Moved Councillor Vic, you're moving. Councillor McKelvey, you're seconding. Do you have a question? Councillor Runge, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. And it's with regards to, once again, being open to everybody. I do understand that you sent letters to all the groups, and then it was put into the newspaper. For some newer, possibly newer nonprofits, is this also being shown somewhere on our website? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it was on my website, and it was on our website, and it was also posted on Facebook.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have our mover and seconder. We're ready to go with the vote. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. So now we will go to item number 3, K3, Admin Report 98/23. And this is regarding 878 Rolfe Street Secondary Suite Addition and Floodplain Development Permit Review, and Planner Pritchard to report on behalf of Director Turner.
Thank you, Mayor. So the purpose of this report is to review the overall site design for an addition of a secondary suite at 878 Rolfe Street, which is located in the floodplain. So the proposed building will be 53 meters squared that will be added onto the second floor of the principal building. The proponent is looking to add extra space for her children to cook and for when her family is visiting. The addition will meet the 30-meter setback from the high water mark and the elevation mark. Staff has no concerns with the proposed secondary suite. So just moving on to the recommendation is that Council approve DP 2023-60 for the construction of a secondary suite on Lot 1, District Lot 704, Cariboo District Plan PGP 47945, setback 30 meters from the high water mark and at a minimum elevation of 473 meters above sea level.
Okay, thank you very much. Moved by Councillor Rudenberg. Oh, do you have a question, or are you just moving? Just moving, okay. Councillor Vick is seconding. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. We're moving right along, and now we go to item number 4. And that is Admin Report 9923 DVP 2023-70, and this is for number 82 at 313 Westland Road, a variance for an accessory building. Planner Pritchard to report on behalf of Director Turner.
Thank you. Sorry, so I just should have noted before, the proponent was in the gallery for the last project, and then Rita and Barry, the owners of the mobile home the mobile home, are in the gallery as well. So the purpose of this report is that the applicants have applied to council to vary section 4.09(1)(2) of the mobile home parks bylaw to allow a 223.36 cubic meter accessory building. So just to summarize, the applicant has applied to vary the size requirement for an accessory building in a mobile home park. The subject mobile home site is larger and can accommodate a larger accessory building. A 3-meter setback must be maintained at the rear property line to accommodate the drainage, and the proposed building shall be used for storage and covered parking. Staff has no concerns with the proposal. So we recommend that council approve DVP 2023-70 for the construction of a 223.36 cubic meter accessory building on parcel A, District Lot 3947, Cariboo District Plan PGP 41180 as proposed on the attached plans, subject to the accessory building having a minimum rear setback of 3 meters to ensure the drainage swale is not impacted by the development.
Okay, thank you for that. Mover? Moved Councillor Goulet, seconded, I'm looking over this side, Councillor Vick. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you for that. I just want to note that, just for the record, that there was one letter in favor and one letter in opposition that was circulated with that package. The next report is Admin Report 97/23, heat alert response plan. City Manager Johnson to report on behalf of Director Turner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So part of our emergency planning that local governments are expected to do now is extreme heat planning. And if you will recall, a few years ago in 2021, the BC Emergency Health Services identified 22 times as many heat-related emergency calls during the heat dome event in June. And the BC CDC determined that BC suffered 740 heat attributable deaths with mortality rates 3 times greater than average. So that heat dome event really made the government stand up and take attention and say, you need to develop some planning around this. So the city has been working on that. There was a grant that was received through UBCM. And that grant was shared between Williams Lake, 100 Mile House, and Quesnel, covering 100% of the cost of developing that heat plan. Urban Matters worked with all 3 communities to provide community-specific recommendations, although when you look at their plans, they're all fairly similar, right? So, but still community-specific recommendations. So that plan has been developed, and the link was attached to the agenda. One of the issues we have with a consultant working on with 3 different communities is timing, and the timing has been a little bit challenging. We had hoped to have that plan fully presented out to council in advance of this, like a formal presentation of it, and the consultant, in order to meet the timing for the grant, needs to get approval from council on the plan. So what's being suggested is that council approves the plan tonight, and staff has worked on that plan, and it's been well reviewed by staff. But then we're recommending that the plan be forwarded to the Emergency Management Committee and Public Safety and Policing Committee for a final review, and then bring it back to council for an actual full presentation of that plan. So that will happen in the future, but what we're asking for council tonight is that you would approve the heat alert response plan as attached to the agenda, and that council directs staff to forward the plan to the Emergency Management Committee and Public Safety and Policing Committee for review and actioning recommendations. And when you think about it, that type of a response plan would be very similar to other emergency plans, which are always live documents anyways. Emergency response plans change as there are changes in the community. So it's not that unrealistic that we could accept it. It's a good solid document, and then if there was something significant where council thought, oh, maybe tweak that, we could still do some tweaks to it. So I think from the perspective of it doesn't tie council's hands if you approve it tonight, but it does help us to get to full compliance on that grant, which was 100% funded this project. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you, City Manager. So we have a recommendation in front of us. Could we get a mover? Councillor McKelvey's moving, and Councillor Runge is seconding. Councillor Runge, go ahead.
Thanks for giving us this chance. So for me, I love that it's 100% funded. For me, the question always is financial implications going forward. If the grant's 100% funded and our costs to the city afterwards, and those are, as long as we have a chance to discuss all those things in detail later, I'm absolutely 100% in favor of this.
Okay, thank you. So we have a mover and a seconder on that one. So now I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. So thank you. That concludes city staff reports. Now we go to item L, which is council information package, and we've had one request to bring forward number 1, which is regarding the powwow, and I'm thinking that that's going to Councillor Goulet.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So you'll see, and it's included, we're requesting, and I think a response has been that the mayor and others will be attending the upcoming powwow in October 7th and 8th. It's an open invitation to all council to attend, so I just wanted to make that into the public, and I know that we'll have representation and have a good time for the powwow. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Councillor Goulet. Nothing else coming out of council information package. We have no regular correspondence. The bylaws have already been dealt with earlier in the meeting. We have no new business, no changes to upcoming meeting schedules, no changes to committee appointments. Now I will go to announcement and events. And remember, Councillor Goulet.
Go ahead, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, I'm just about done. We have announcements and events, and remember, we've just changed the bylaw to sort of leave events wide open to both present and past, or future and past. Councillor Goulet.
Thank you very much again, Mr. Mayor. So I just want to bring your attention to this Saturday, which is Truth and Reconciliation Day, National Truth and Reconciliation Day, referred to as Orange Shirt Day, and I think in the Indigenous community it will be always referred to as Orange Shirt Day, so just keep that in the back of your mind. So I just want to bring your attention that the Telecom Society will be having an event at the center. It is open from 11 a.m. to 2. It is a drop-in, and it'll be an opportunity to just have survivors and people and just have a conversation, and there'll be some information on the calls to action and where we move forward with reconciliation. So you're free to just come in. It is a drop-in, and I did send that out, I think, to most of the council members. I had some problems with my email, but if you didn't get it, I can resend it to you. And as you can tell, I also forwarded LHTAKO DENE is having a celebration within the park. They start just shortly after 11 or sometime at 11 as well, and I didn't include that. You know, they're going to have tables and just have dancers and things happening within the LHTAKO Park. I just want to recognize that, you know, Orange Shirt Day started in 2013, and it was sort of a commemoration, or people were invited to the St. Joseph's School in Williams Lake, where Phyllis Webstad told her story of how she went to residential school and was part of the school at the St. Joseph's, and told her story of her grandmother and the shirt that she wore, and she remembers that shirt as being orange. She was 6 years old and just remembered that color. So that's how we sort of stemmed into the Orange Shirt Day. She didn't realize that it would become a national event. She's very diplomatic in that. She just said that it was bringing up memories for her, and just that orange shirt meant so much to her and her family from her grandmother. So I just wanted to let you know that that's how the Orange Shirt Day actually became part of the national celebration. It also ties to the calls to action, action number 80, which is talks about, you know, creating opportunities and understanding Indigenous building and relationships, and how we move forward with sort of, you know, making an awareness to something that's very important to, especially to residential school survivors. So, I mean, it's quite the observation, and I think it'll grow as the time goes. And I just want people to be aware that it's not really a celebration; it's a learning experience for everybody to just take in and be part of that, and sort of understand where the residential school survivors are coming from. So, thank you very much for that time. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Goulet. So we've covered off both the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation and also the powwow. I just want to take a moment to say that I think we did a very good job down at UBCM, and I want to take this time to recognize Councillor Rudenberg for her work as the president last year, and now as the immediate past president. And I can understand now that I'm the mayor, and I was joking about this. I've been going to UBCMs for many, many years, and I joked about the fact that this is the first UBCM that I missed. because we had so many ministerial meetings and so on that I wasn't able to sort of sit through all of my favorite part of the convention, and that is the resolutions. So thank you to Councillor Rudenberg for all your hard work. Well done. And I'd also like to thank Councillors Goulet and McKelvey. They were down there as well. And actually, Councillor Goulet bailed me out because I developed a nosebleed right before I was to go into a ministerial meeting, and Councillor Goulet texted me, and I was struggling with a napkin and trying to run the phone with one. I says, I'm having a nosebleed. So in any event, it was all good, and thank you for bailing me out on that one, Councillor Goulet. Is there anything else under announcements and so on before I go to gallery questions? Okay, gallery questions. Anything? Come on up, RJ. Remember the drill. You've got to say your name and where you live. And it has to be a question.
It is a question, Mr. Mayor. My name is RJ Prue, and I live at 382 Rottis Drive. And my question to you is probably irrelevant at this point, but I was looking forward to hear from the convention for a convention report from all of you that attended. I've been to many conventions, and of course we came back with, a stack of information and whatnot, and then of course. And is this up and coming, or it is?
Yes,
Thank
it is.
you.
I just got back yesterday,
Okay.
and we will each be submitting a report that will be on an upcoming agenda. But you got to remember that we had 5 days of pretty intense activity, and it's going to take some time to sort of put together a meaningful and effective report with accompanying recommendations and so on. So stay tuned.
Yeah, so therefore at our next meeting, we will have the actual report from each of our attendees, or is that the way it's going to go?
I'm going to go to Councillor Rudenberg. Councillor Rudenberg, did you want to comment? You're just fingers crossed that it would be the next meeting. ASAP, RJ, so...
Okay. Thank you very much.
Together.
I was really looking forward to that, but I can understand the amount of information you guys are filled with, because I've been to many of them. So thank you very kindly.
Thank you, RJ. Anything more? Well, then I will call for a motion to adjourn, and just a reminder that we are going to go into a special closed immediately after this meeting. So a motion, Councillor Runge, Councillor Vic, to adjourn. All in favor? Carried. Thank you.